the promotion,
saying, the phone number and the who is Mike Jones,
right.
and everybody can still remember
281-330-8004. Hit Mike Jones up on the low because Mike Jones about to blow.
Speak Easy Studios. Speak and be heard.
Yo, this is Stephen Lee.
And I'm Frank Jackson.
And we are the Distinguished Critics. We're here to break down some of our favorite albums and songs and debate what's overrated, underrated, and everything in between. So join us as we go back and relive some of music's most iconic projects. Give us a listen wherever you get your podcasts, and please remember to rate, review, subscribe, and give us those 5 stars. What's up, everybody, and welcome to another edition of This or That Shorts. I'm Stephen Lee, as always, joined by Frank Jackson, and today we are going to be discussing 2 Southern anthems that ruled the airwaves in 2005. That's right, we're talking about Mike Jones' Still Tippin' and 3 6 Mafia's Stay Fly. Frank, how you doing today, man?
I'm good. We're finally about to give Houston some of the love that they deserve, because Houston was, man, they had a run. During this time, it seemed like everybody just coming out of the woodwork. Chameleonaire, Mike Jones, Paul Wall, Slim Thug, and
Lil Kiki, even some guys that Zero had been on the scene.
Yep.
It feels like, to me, 2005, if you take away like the G Unit influence, right, like 50 Cent and the Massacre, you have to give that entire year to the city of Houston, because of like all of these artists that you just named and how they broke through. It's not like all of these guys were established veterans,
right,
and collectively just had a moment. These were all new artists that
it feels like all the seeds that Houston had been planting for so long, from Ghetto Boys to UGK, just all of this time that Houston spent in the hip-hop conversation, but not kind of crossing over to that next level.
It was a very regional thing.
Yeah. This is when it really came to fruition.
The mainstream.
And they dominated.
Everything had like a chopped and screwed hook, and, Lean has had so much influence on like the culture.
For better or worse.
Really, like, I would say like 3 6 Mafia sipping on some scissor, like you started to hear about that, but like 2005 in Houston and that city in particular, like they put that on the map.
Yeah, I mean, this was one of those movements that would go on to change hip hop, and every so often that does come along. And Houston, I mean, like we said, Houston completely took over the game at this time in a way that was unprecedented. Lil Flip was another one who came out of nowhere, can't rap for shit, but I mean, he came in and he took over. He's out here making ballads, Sunshine and shit.
Yeah.
Like
Game Over was a hot record, but let's
Game Over was a smash.
Since we're talking about Still Tippin', right? Like Mike Jones, Slim Thug, Paul Wall. I didn't know who any of these guys were prior to this record, but the beat itself is like, with the violin and that thumping bass, it's like it's an all-timer, like you said. Like the second you hear that, you're like, oh, this is a classic. And all 3 of these artists, like, it's hard for me to say who had the best verse on this song.
I would have to go with Paul Wall myself, but it's not like it's a runaway thing.
They all have quotables.
Mike Jones at the time definitely was the most popular, just because his thing, like
the promotion,
saying, the phone number and the who is Mike Jones,
right.
And everybody can still remember
281-330-8004. Hit Mike Jones up on the low because Mike Jones about to blow. Yeah, I mean, everybody knew that,
and he did, and then he didn't. Then he unblew.
Yeah.
But that being said, he had his time, and Houston deserves a lot of credit for the direction that hip hop would eventually end up going, and it remained relevant. You know, like it wasn't just this comet that shot across the sky. A lot of those dudes had careers totally made off of that. And one thing Houston dudes, aside from the music, Houston dudes know how to make money. Like, if you go and look at these dudes now, Chameleonaire and Paul Wall and all of them, they have these very lucrative businesses where
whether
music
it be
is really just a
the
side
grills
thing.
Business or restaurants, stuff like that.
Chameleonaire is like a real deal entrepreneur.
Yeah.
So it's Houston is different, and they brought their flavor to hip hop, and it changed it forever.
Well, this song, I think, like, off the strength of this single success, Slim Thug was able to come out the gate and have a gold album, and Paul Wall was able to put out a gold album. I think this really, like, put them on the map, and I think if you're talking about Houston in 2005, I don't think that there's a song that personifies or encapsulates that movement more than Still Tippin'.
Right.
Because it incorporates all of the elements that you would get out of a Houston record.
Right.
Now, some people could say Riding Dirty, but that came out the year after, and Houston had already kind of established itself as like the new hot hip-hop
They were
scene.
set by then. Now, conversely, something that wasn't new was 3 6 Mafia.
Right.
3 6 Mafia had been around since they go back to as early as the
95, maybe?
the mid 90s.
Mystic Styles was
yes,
95.
Mystic Styles 95.
Right.
And you talk about a group who does not get nearly enough credit for the blueprint that, like, the sound of Southern hip hop would eventually,
Or like Crunk in particular.
yes,
Tear the Club Up Thugs, like all of those
3
records.
6 Mafia really laid that blueprint for everybody. And,
They did.
and we previously, recently had a conversation about how one thing that we both love about 3 6 is that they really were willing to work with just everyone in the South. Like, the South to them was first and foremost important, and it wasn't about, oh, you got to be from Memphis. It was this thing where they wanted the South to really be
Right.
elevated
As
to that level that
right.
every
Collectively,
other
like
coast was getting.
Right. They didn't. I mean, they were reaching out to UGK way back in the day.
Yeah.
They were collaborating with Fiend and Mr. Servon and Cash Money, and 3 6 always extended that olive branch, and they were able to do so too because the production was so tight. You know, one thing I don't think 3 6 gets credit for enough. We talk about the crunk aspect of it, but they can sample with the best of them. Like Juicy J and DJ Paul, they can flip a sample on the level of Kanye to me, really, in terms of what to incorporate, how to speed it up. Maybe it's not too much of it in there, but you notice it enough. And to me, like Stay Fly, the Willie Hutch sample, you can definitely hear that, but it's not like a loop. It's not like what Johnny J used to do, where it's just like, oh, he just took the actual song, or like on some MC Hammer, Can't Touch This.
No, absolutely.
Type of feel.
Great producers, underrated and underappreciated producers. Like I said, they really did lay the blueprint for the South, and I think this was a kind of a culmination of all the work they'd done for a long time leading to this point, and it was around the time where their sound really started to change. You know, by the time like 3 6 Mafia became the 3 6 Mafia that was like world famous,
there was only 3 members.
Yeah, it had that point. It had been reduced to Juicy, Crunchy, and DJ Paul,
Right.
And they were at that point more so the people that you would see like the Pillheads bumping. They were making a lot of music that was for like the drug scene.
A Little White and all them, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, that was my introduction to 3 6.
From the 3 6 that originated.
They started off more as like a horrorcore
Yes.
type of group.
Definitely
and
horrorcore.
Even their style, they had beef with Bone Thugs in the 90s because that's how they rapped back then.
Yep.
But yeah, in 2005, I would argue that this is probably when they were their hottest, just in terms of that global reach.
Absolutely.
I want to say this is the year they won the Academy Award for Hustle and Flow.
It is.
And then you have a monster song like this, and what I love about this song is it's a true Tennessee like posse cut. You got 8 Ball and MJG on here. You got Young Buck on here. So you not only do you have Nashville, but you got Orange Mound, Memphis, you know. So I love that they're able to bring all of them together, much in the way that Houston was doing with Still Tippin', right? Like we're collectively coming out and making an anthem. And Stay Fly hit all the marks, you know. My personal favorite verse, probably MJG. I think that this beat was like tailor-made for his type
I
of
agree
flow.
with that.
Yeah.
I think MJG, it tailor fitted him. So though this isn't my favorite version of 3-6. It's easily the most successful version of 3-6, and I mean, it can't be understated how much of a massive moment it was for hip hop for 3-6 to be winning an Academy Award,
Right.
Because hip hop did not get those kind of accolades.
Well, especially like Southern hip hop, like Eminem, you could see like something like that, but like 3-6 Mafia, these guys, the guys that rap about the devil and
I mean, if you
snorting Xanax bars and
if you were someone who didn't know who they were, but you watched the Academy Awards, and you're like, oh, okay, that's a catchy little tune. Let me listen to the rest of that stuff.
Yeah,
you probably clutching your pearls when you listen to them.
Clutching your pearls, nice.
Yeah, when you heard the shit that they actually rap about all the time.
Yeah.
So, just a huge moment for hip hop. Both of these songs were huge moments for hip hop. That I would say one of them changed the game completely. The other one was more so
them getting their it was like them getting their flowers.
Exactly.
Almost.
They were getting their flowers,
right, and deservingly so.
But to you, which one personally for you was the one that kind of consumed you the most?
Well, Still Tippin' probably, right? Yeah. Just as a pure record.
I still listen to Still Tippin' all the time.
Yeah, like 3-6 Mafia has never been the greatest rappers to me, but even like Stay Fly, like Young Buck did his thing. 8 Ball and MJG probably are my favorite duo ever, but I can't pick Stay Fly over Still Tippin' even to this day. Like Still Tippin' is one of those songs where it comes on and I'm letting that ride, and I might even run it back. Stay Fly, I really never go out of my way to seek that.
So I'd have to agree in terms of Stay Fly is something where, like, if I hear it, it's more of like oh shit, like it's something that'll take me back, and I'm just thinking about everything that was going on at the time. We were 15 years old with just not a damn worry in the world, and all of it. Well, you won't talk about all that, but it was just good times, right?
Yeah.
And Still Tippin' also brings me back to that time, but it's also something that's not trapped there, where I feel like Stay Fly is. It's kind of trapped in that part of my life, and Still Tippin', I mean, that's on my gym playlist. Like,
Same
I'm
here.
Listening to Still Tippin' all the time.
The chopped and screwed version too, because I'm not the biggest fan of like chopped and screwed music. I definitely like respect it. That was a game changer that you still, you feel that influence and impact to this day.
Yeah.
But this is one of those songs where even chopped and screwed, like, I think it sounds great. It's the violin, man, and I do think that like all three artists like really brought it.
It catches the ear, certainly. So I think in terms of long-term impact, is easily Still Tippin', and I mean that in every way,
right?
Because of what the game became after Houston kind of had their takeover,
and just as a pure record,
and just as a song itself, I think it just ages a hell of a lot better, than Stay Fly. But hey, Still Tippin' can't say that they won an Academy Award though.
That's true too. All right, guys, let us know what you think in the comments, and until then, we'll see you next week. Peace.
Thanks for giving us a listen. Give us your feedback and let us know how you really feel. Subscribe, rate, review, and we'll see you next week.